But when a righteous man turns away from his righteousness and commits iniquity, and does according to all the abominations that the wicked man does, shall he live. All the righteousness which he has done shall not be remembered, because of the unfaithfulness of which he is guilty, and the sin which he has committed, because of them he shall die. Run the whole race, because there is no trophy for participation. That was Ezekiel 18, verse number 24. Do you ever get tired sometimes? Maybe sometimes later in the day, after you've been outside, you've had a hard day's work, or you've gone into the office, you come home, you're ready to come home and put your feet up and be able to come home and just to relax. And after working hard, that's what happens. After you use that energy, you get tired. I know I ran about 4.5 miles the other day. I got home, I was ready to crash. I was tired. But when we get tired, we can't just say, all right, this is the most important thing to do. I'm just going to sit on the couch. I'm not going to do anything. There are other obligations that we're still going to have to take care of. We've got meals to eat. There are other things that have to be done. We can't just stop when we get tired. We aren't allowed to sit around and rest. But we know that not only are we just not supposed to do that, it's a biblical command. 2 Thessalonians 3 verse 10 says, if a man shall not work, neither let him eat. So we have to work. We have to be willing to push aside our weariness, to be constantly pushing forward. Work isn't, as some people like to treat it, it's not a bad word. You can't say, oh, we've got to go work, or something that we shouldn't say. As a matter of fact, it's kind of fun sometimes. I think we're going to go home here in a little bit. I'm going to be able to get out a shovel and go play in the dirt, go play in the garden. That's something that I'm looking forward to, be able to put some seeds in the ground, get my fingers and my toes in the dirt. I'm kind of looking forward to that. But work isn't always a bad thing. It is sometimes something that we can look forward to. Now, work is an essential part of life, but how can we apply that? How can we take care of our Christian works in life, things that God commands us to take care of? If you would notice in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse number 24, Paul puts it a little bit differently than than Ezekiel puts it. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse number 24. That says, in the New King James Version, do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may obtain it. And everyone who competes for the prize is temperate in all things, is patient in all things. Now they do it to obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown. Therefore I run thus, not with uncertainty. Thus I fight, not as one who simply beats the air, but I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest, when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified. Don't you know that there are lots of people that run in a race? It doesn't matter, there could be 10, there could be 100, there could be 1,000. They're all running in that race. Only one person is going to win that. Only one person is going to get first place. They'll get the crown, they'll get the trophy. Paul is saying here, you've got to run because there is no trophy for just participating. You aren't going to win just because you just tried, you participated, you played your part. We've got to run the entire Christian race. We can't just say, all right, today I'm going to do God's will, and today I'm going to run the Christian race. Tomorrow, I'll just worry about that later. I'll worry about my Christian works then. I don't need to worry about that tomorrow. We have to work as Christians our whole lives. We are constantly doing our best to grow, to strengthen our own faith, to strengthen the faith of others. We can't just do that when we want to. We know we're on a straight and narrow path. Matthew 7, verse 21. Straight is the gate, narrow is the way that leadeth to righteousness, that leadeth to heaven. That's what it's going to have to take. That path is not going to be easy. That's why Paul says in Hebrews 12:1, I'm running the race. I'm doing it with patience, though. That's the most important thing. Hebrews chapter 12, verse number 1, when Paul is talking about running the race there. That's a theme that he uses several times. But he says in Hebrews 12, verse 1, therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, there are lots of people watching to see what we do. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance. Let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Well, why do we have to run it with patience, Paul? Why can't we're going to run. It's like a 400-meter dash. We're just going to sprint to the finish line. No. This is a long, grueling race that it's going to be hard sometimes. But he says in verse number 2, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before Him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and has now sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Paul is putting that in the same terms. Jesus had to undergo a long, strenuous race as well, who He had that joy set before Him. He had to endure the cross, but He despised the shame, and now He's sitting at the right hand of the throne of God as well. But this isn't some nice paved way with street lights that's nice and all fixed up. This is a path that's not always easy to follow. Running on a path is definitely going to be hard sometimes. It's not gilded streets all the way to heaven. It's going to be hard sometimes. Vines may trip us, thorns may stick to us, and sometimes even the trees, they'll reach out and try and hit you. And that's just a nice way of saying you'll run into trees every now and then. But still we run. It says in 1 Peter 5 verse 8, "Be sober, be vigilant. Your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, seeketh whom he may devour." He's looking along that path to see, who can I pursue next? Running the Christian race is absolutely going to be hard, but we do have to keep in mind that this is a race of endurance. It's not a test of who can get there the fastest. It's who can last the longest. But as we're going down this path, what are some things that we can expect as we're trying to do our best to win the Christian race? The first part, the most common part, would be exhaustion. Now, if you were to go outside right now, you're going to go stand out there on the road and you're just going to start running home for too long, you're definitely going to get tired. Pretty soon you'd just be worn out, you couldn't run any further. But in our lives and experiences, one of the most common reasons that somebody leaves the church? Is it because they get mad at people, or is it just because they get tired of having to wake up at this time on every Sunday morning? They've got to show up for Bible study, for worship, they've got to show up again, all these things. Some people just get tired of it, and that's the wrong attitude to have. They get tired of being involved in other things, being around their Christian family, so instead they just decide it's easier to give up. But if we allow ourselves to get tired, if we aren't pacing ourselves correctly, if we're just going to say, "I'm worn out, I just don't want to do it anymore," then that's going to cause us to lose our faith. My favorite story, something that applies to this, is the story of the tortoise and the hare. The hare goes off, he's shooting straight ahead. He's in the lead here, he's going fast. But he wasn't prepared he wasn't ready to, he didn't think he was going to get tired. He's going to say, "I've got this," but the tortoise, he's properly paced. He knew, this is what it's going to take, I'm going to have to use this much energy. And every single time that you read that book, the tortoise always wins. You have to be willing to pace yourself. You have to be able to make sure that you aren't going to get tired of what you're doing. Try new things. Try all sorts of new, you can have different kinds of fellowship with your brothers and sisters. There's so many things that you can do, but make sure that you don't just wear yourself out. Make sure you don't try and just get tired of doing what you have to do and give up. We must give our all. We have to give our being into doing what God says we do. If you take, for example, the lukewarm church, Revelation 3, verses 14 through 24, they had started off, they were a faithful church, but they started losing interest. Jesus said, "You're neither cold nor hot. You aren't doing anything. You serve no practical point. You're failing." They were excited. They were ready. But at some point, they just got tired of doing what they had to do. They got tired of meeting. They got tired of all these things. And Jesus really condemns them for that, saying, you need to get your life back on track. You need to be doing what you need to do. Don't get tired. Make sure that you always have enough energy to run the Christian race. Another thing that might happen, we aren't prepared. Like I said, if you try and go out there now running in what is the commonly used term, your Sunday best, you really aren't going to get far. You've got to be prepared to run. You can't just say, "All right, I think I might know what I'm doing. I think I've got to do that and that and that. So I think I know what I'm doing. So let's go do this." You've got to be prepared. You have to understand exactly what you're getting into here. You can't say, "Oh, I think it's going to be easy. I think I'm going to do this." That's not going to work. You have to understand that it's not always going to be easy. The Christian race is not always going to be easy. There are going to be people out there who are trying to persecute you, who are trying to bring you down, to taunt you, to draw you away from your faith. And that's just to be expected. We have to be prepared. Sometimes you'll get genuine questions like, why do we do this the way that we do? And you need to have a biblical answer ready for that. Be prepared for questions like that. Other people sometimes are just going to be ridiculing you like, why are you doing that? Why can't you do this instead? And that's part of it. People look down on us. In 1 Peter, we're told that we're a peculiar people. We're set apart. We need to stand out from the crowd. We're going against the flow because that's what we're supposed to do. We aren't supposed to fit into the world because the world is full of darkness. So many things are going on right now because people don't truly understand what they need to do. We need to be prepared. You may want to do all sorts of things. Preparation is absolutely essential. Luke 12, verse number 40. The words of the Lord Himself in Luke chapter 12. He says they're talking about being prepared. He gives the parable on those who were the virgins that were prepared and those who weren't. Says, therefore, in Luke 12, verse number 40, you also be ready. For the Son of Man is coming at an hour which you do not expect. You don't know when the Lord is coming back. I don't know. No one knows. It is not for you to know the times or the seasons, Acts chapter 1. We have to be prepared. We don't know if He's going to come as soon as we leave. We don't know when Jesus is coming back. So we have to be prepared for whatever happens. We can't say, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I've got my whole life ahead of me. I've got this and this and this. It's all going for me. I'm doing so well. We aren't prepared. If you look at the parable of the rich fool, there were several of them. This man who wasn't prepared, he had a harvest had come in that year, a big harvest. So he's like, well, what am I going to do? I don't have enough room to store all this. I'm going to tear down my barns. I'm going to make bigger barns, and I'm going to put it all in there. The very next verse, it says, you fool, tonight your soul will be required of you. He was prepared. He was set for a pretty awesome life on earth. But he had lost sight of what was important. He wasn't prepared spiritually to meet his Maker. He wasn't prepared. He didn't know what he needed to do, so he hadn't. He wasn't ready to meet. He wasn't prepared to meet his God. But sometimes other things may interfere. The world may say, maybe you should come try this. Maybe sometimes we do fall away because it is too easy to sometimes see what other people are doing and to get involved with that. But again, we have to be prepared for those methods. 1 John 2, verses 15 through 17, talking about the different types of temptations that the devil will use, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. If we can understand what Satan is trying to do, then we're going to be prepared for that. We're going to have the right tools to counter that. You don't want to use the wrong tool for the job. You need to be prepared. You don't want to try and use a screwdriver to hammer in a nail unless you absolutely have to. You don't want to try and use a hammer to screw in a nail. It just doesn't work. You have to have not only tools, you have to have the right tools to be able to handle anything that Satan throws at you. But another thing that may happen while you're running along, you're going along pretty well, you're prepared, you've studied, you've got all of this is going well. Sometimes unexpected things come along. Something may strike out of the blue. An unexpected injury just stops and it brings you down temporarily. Unfortunately, we do get hurt sometimes. Thomas is kind of the hero of this story, but not too long ago, I guess it probably has been over a year ago, but we were running home from my grandparents' house about a half a mile down the road from our house. We came around the big curve there. I was thinking, all right, after that, I've got a clean shot home. I forgot the fact that I was wearing sandals and not tennis shoes like I should have, so I was thinking, oh, I got Thomas beat. I can beat him home. I ran about 10 steps, twisted my ankle, and bit the dust. So unexpected injuries do happen sometimes. Thomas had to get me up, get my arm around his shoulder, and had to half carry me back home. So you do have to be careful sometimes because unexpected things do happen. Things will come. They will trip you up. You won't see them coming. Sometimes something may go on in your family. Something bad may happen, and you temporarily lose sight of where your priorities need to be. You may fall away. You're like, I have to be involved in this for a little while. I'll come back to the church later. And you lose track of those priorities. But we can't do that. It's not fun when things like that happen, but we have to be prepared for that as well. But we've got to make sure that we're prepared for anything to happen. We have to expect the worst, expect the unexpected. That way, if it happens, you're prepared for it. And if it doesn't happen, then it's a pleasant surprise. So be prepared for things that we may not see coming in the future, but they will come. We will fall down sometimes. We're going to fall down and we are going to eat the dirt sometimes. We are going to have some mess ups. We'll make mistakes. But we have to be able to be willing to clean those mistakes up, make those mistakes right, say, I know I've messed up, but I'm going to get back up. I'm going to keep running. I'm going to do what God commands. I'm going to come back. I'm going to make that right. And I will continue running that Christian race. But out of all these tools that Satan uses, there's one more, even more powerful tool than any of those. He may catch us when we're unprepared. He may catch us when we're not ready. Any of these things. He may catch us when we're tired. But another tool he tries to use is that of loneliness. He'll make you think, you're out there, you're running this race alone. There's no one else out there trying to help you. You're stuck on your own trying to run this Christian race by yourself. Why are you doing that? There's no reason for that. Everybody else is out here having fun, but it's just you, all by your little lonesome self. Sometimes running a race can get tiring, but why do you think we're called a Christian family? It doesn't say Christian so-and-sos. We're a Christian family. We are here to support each other. That's what that idea is. How can we be lonely when we've got a whole family here willing to support us, willing and happy and able to support us? We can't let the devil say, you're in this by yourself. No one's there to support you. You're all alone running this race. So why even bother? Why put the effort in to try and live your life apart? Because it's going to separate you from everybody. But that's why we do have that Christian family. That's why we're called brothers and sisters in Christ. We have that support when we need it. We can turn to other people in this congregation, other people in other congregations. We have, I believe, 42 churches of Christ in Warren County. There is no shortage of brothers and sisters in Warren County. Unfortunately, there are some other places that don't have that kind of support. You can go to the grocery store, and odds are you'll meet another brother or sister in Christ from another congregation down the road. If you're traveling with some people especially, you'll know everybody in the grocery store. But your brothers and sisters are all around you. They're willing to support you. Don't let the devil say, you're in this by yourself, you can't do this. Why are you going against the grain? Because we've got, probably about 60 people here today. There are so many other churches with so many other members in them. We have to be willing to say, I've got brothers and sisters all around me, Satan. What are you talking about? I've got one great big family around me, willing to support me, willing to help me get through whatever it is. And we all have various trials that we might face, various things that come up out of the blue, or we may just not be prepared. But our Christian family is there to help us. That is why we have such a great support network like that. God gave us this family. Talking about these 7 churches in Revelation chapters 2 and 3, He was writing to the whole church. Those people were all in it together. They had, like the lukewarm church, they had all messed up. The persecuted church, they were all going to be persecuted. Those churches stood firm, but even more importantly, they stood together. Talking throughout the Scriptures, Paul, James, they all wrote about unity, why unity is so important. We use the expression, united we stand, divided we fall. If we don't stand together, then we won't be able to stand at all. That's why we have to work on those relationships with those others that are trying to run that Christian race as well. You don't see, if you've got a big marathon, we've got the Viola Valley Half Marathon going on in a month or so. You don't see 5 or 6 people out there running the race by themselves. They've got, I believe they had, about 400 people running that together last year. They all ran at their own separate pace, but they were all running, all trying to get towards that exact same goal, that same finish line. And that's what we're trying to do today. We've got brothers and sisters in this county, brothers and sisters in this state, other states, other countries, other nations, all running for that exact same finish line that we're trying to get to. We are all in this race together. So when a brother stops, we like to sing the song, if a brother's in the way, we'll stop and pick him up. Roll the gospel chariot along. If a brother or sister's in the way, we'll stop and pick him up. Help your brothers and sisters out, because that's what we're here for, that Christian family. That's the idea behind trying to get to heaven together. We want to take as many people to heaven with us as we possibly can, because that's what God's commanded us to do. We're supposed to be there to support our family, and that's admirable, especially here. You can see everybody knows everybody shakes hands, everybody gives hugs, everybody likes to talk at the fellowship meals. Everybody here is trying to stand united. Everybody here is trying to encourage everyone and get everybody on the right track to go to heaven. So we all need to make sure that we're doing our best to help out the family, help each and every one of us get to heaven. And maybe we're not trying to run that Christian race. Maybe sometimes you've said, I am in this race by myself. I don't feel like there's anyone else there to support me. Maybe you've said, I'm tired. I just don't think I can do it today. Maybe you've said, I'm not prepared. I don't think that I can run this race today. I'm just not ready for it. I don't feel up to it. I'm tired. I just don't want to run the race today. We have to be willing to run no matter what. There's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. But it all comes from the Lord. It doesn't matter. And it's not going to last forever. We are going to have hard days where we say, when our faith is tested. But thank God when you receive these tests, it says in James, because the trying of your faith worketh patience. Let patience have her perfect work, and so on. So we have to be willing to endure those tests, running this race. We have to be willing to do it together to all be able to get to heaven. So don't let Satan say, you're in this by yourself, you're not ready for it, you just can't handle it. Because you can. You have a whole family surrounding you, doing their best to support you, because we all want to get to heaven. We want to be able to sing one of my favorite songs. It doesn't matter whether I'm at a camp, whether I'm at another congregation. I always love to sing, When We All Get to Heaven. Hear everybody sing that. Sing the wondrous love of Jesus. Sing His mercy and His grace. In the mansions bright and blessed, He'll prepare for us a place. When we all get to heaven. What a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. That's what we want to do. We all want to be able to sing that together, to sing, when we all get to heaven, we will see Jesus. We will all be there. We will see one another. And we will sing songs of praise to God for all eternity. That should be our goal. Let's make sure we're running that Christian race. It's not easy to get there, but the reward is so well worth anything that we can endure here on this earth. This doesn't last forever. Your possessions that you have here on this earth, they're going to fade away. Jordan read this morning from Matthew chapter 6. Don't lay up your treasures on earth where things are going to fade, they're going to be corrupted, thieves will break in and steal. That's not where our treasure needs to be. We should be doing our best to run that Christian race, to get that crown of life at the end of our race. If there's anything that we can do to help you run that Christian race, get your race back on track, make sure you're still running on that straight and narrow path, then please let us know as together we stand and sing.